Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of the 365 podcast. We are here today, myself and Elle, to talk about strength training. We're going to touch a little bit on like misconceptions around strength training, actually what you can get from strength training, and then how to get into it. So we will jump straight in with some of the misconceptions around strength training and what we kind of think those are. What would you say kind of the main misconception is, would you
So I think
think?
if you say strength training, a lot of people would instantly assume maybe that bodybuilder vibe, typically guys lifting in a gym, lifting pretty heavy weights. That's what I think my brain sometimes can
Yeah,
think back to as to what I think strength training is before I got into it.
yeah,
You just assume it's maybe like a male dominated
activity.
activity. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think kind of, yeah, definitely that kind of bodybuilding, and it's all about kind of how you look. So, getting kind of massive muscles, not necessarily most of those would probably be in a natural way,
Yeah.
but like almost from that point of view, like the bigger the better.
Yeah, 100%. I think we often then link strength training because I guess by the name of it, you would assume, okay, I'm doing it to get stronger. It's to build strength. And that's just one element or branch of it. And then by getting stronger, technically, what happens is you build muscle. So people then instantly link it and go, well, I don't want to, particularly women, I would say,
Yeah,
think it would go in, well, I don't want to lift really heavy weights and then get big and bulky and they then think, "Well, I'm not gonna strength train, I'll default to running or cardio."
yeah, and that kind of definitely there has been that narrative before of those cardio bunnies, you're just trying to, burn as many calories as possible. But I think that's kind of another interesting misconception is that people don't necessarily realize from if you are interested in burning calories, although most of that kind of, if you're looking at that area comes from your nutrition, actually from a strength training point of view, you are actually able to burn
A hell of a
a
lot of
hell of a lot
calories.
of calories and continue to after you have trained. It's not just about that, 45, 55 minutes that you spend in the gym or longer. It's, the rest of that day of,
Exactly.
your muscles are trying to repair themselves. Actually, I think sometimes people are also scared of the fact that when we talk about strength training, you are kind of causing like micro damage to your muscles. For them to get bigger, they then need to repair themselves. And I think sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to damage my muscles, but actually to get them stronger,
Have that process
you've
of
got to go
damage
through
and
that.
repair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some people, I guess, link that into, okay, well, if I strength train, I might hurt myself or injure myself. And
Mm.
actually talking more so about the benefits, you do the exact opposite
Yeah.
and aim to reduce your risk of injury and reduce your pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a big one that we see a lot here is that, people might come in and start training and they've got especially lower back problems. That's a really common one, knee pain. And actually they realize after strength training for a little while that, and, doing that in a controlled and a gradual kind of manner, they're like, actually, my back hasn't hurt for the last 2 months,
Yeah.
or, my knee pain is pretty much gone. And that's, I guess if we're going on to those kind of what you actually gain from it, that is one of the byproducts of, like you say, less pain, yeah, less discomfort, because your muscles are stronger to support your joints, your back, you know, those areas that might have been your kind of weak spots previously
Yeah.
are then stronger and, working pain free.
Yeah. And we've had so many examples of that from the guys and girls that we have here say it, and they almost forget that they ever had existing pain,
Yeah.
either knees or back or shoulders or whatever it may be. And I think it's just that reassurance from us going, try it. It might hurt, might feel uncomfortable now, but once you actually get into it, you'll find that you're going to reduce your pain. I think that then carries over into actually the functional fitness side and the benefits that it has going into everyday life. So not only
Yeah.
them doing the gym, it carries over into everyday tasks and it makes all of that a hell of a lot easier, getting up and down the stairs, getting on and off the toilet, all of those everyday tasks which might have felt challenging at one
Mm.
point, regardless of your age. will then still come easier, a
Yeah.
hell of a lot easier to then complete day to day. And I think that's one of the major benefits, building muscle and strength aside, you notice how much better your quality of life is by
Yeah.
lifting weights.
Yeah. And I think that's, especially as people get older, being able to keep doing those things is the difference between living independently and not. It's the difference between staying in your own home and having to go into, residential care.
Assisted care.
So I think it's thinking about the here and now, those day-to-day things that are different now when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it might be. But actually one day you are going to be older,
Yeah.
and let's plan ahead for that so that you can enjoy those years rather than think, oh God, I'm old and I can't do anything and I've got to get somebody to help me. It's maintaining that kind of independence for as long as possible. I think one of the other things is probably worth touching on is building kind of stronger muscles through strength training. Actually, your bone density is going to increase as well, which then again has a knock-on effect. As some people get older, their bone density decreases, so they're more likely to get fractures if they fall. So actually that's another thing I think that is really important to think about, especially with the female population.
100%. And I think, it then goes back to strength training is the exact opposite of what some people may assume, where they might be putting themselves in a position where they could pick up an injury or increase their pain from training. But when it's done correctly and in a more monitored environment and with people who know what they're doing and guide you, it's the complete opposite. And you'll find that actually your chance of injuring, like you said, picking up an injury or a fracture or something like that as you get older is massively reduced.
Yeah.
As well as adding on to the fact that it increases um better mental health, improves your mood. Like there's so many more benefits outside of just like the aesthetic side of things. It's not just about trying to improve how you look. That's a great byproduct of it as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come away and they're like, I feel like I look a hell of a lot better and I feel more confident. Great. If we're then talking about what I'd say are the more important ones, it's improve your everyday and quality of life and reduce your risk of injury and reduce pain.
Yeah. And I think if people focus on that as a first and foremost, then like you say, the rest of it comes as a byproduct. And it's a nice byproduct to have. I think, like probably then thinking about what is the best course of action for people who want to start strength training. Because I would say that it isn't something that you should go into kind of blind and not have an idea as to what you're doing, because you've mentioned before about how important it is to be doing it in a safe kind of controlled environment where your form is being checked. And I think probably starting something new, having a coach that knows what they're talking about and can give you that feedback whilst you're doing the movement, encourage you to lift a bit heavier. Yes, when you're starting, but even that people that have been doing it for years and years and years, they will still have coaches. And I think that's kind of important as well, and even coaches need coaches.
Oh, 100%. I have a coach. You jump in on the sessions that I coach, or vice versa. It's nice to
Yeah.
have somebody who's holding you accountable in a session, and everybody needs a reminder of whether it be actually you can push yourself more,
Yeah.
or whether it be just tweak this and it will feel a hell of a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Things like that within a session that you do pick up on. But I think when we think about like coaches and stuff, as you said, everybody really needs one. And you might associate coaches as being something that only high level athletes need, when actually it's from all the way from beginner up to
To
that
that elite.
professional athlete.
Yeah.
But I think small group PT, so leading on from that, joining a gym, getting a coach, small group PT is a great way to get into it, because one-to-one can sometimes feel a bit intimidating for some people, or you might feel as though it's a bit intense. So small group being a way where not only do you have the accountability from a coach, but you get it from your peers around you or the community that you immerse yourself into. It's then becomes a really enjoyable communal environment, because
Yeah.
you're not only doing it with yourself and then it feels like the pressure's really on you. You're doing
Yeah.
it with maybe 4 other people in the room, and all of you will look entirely different and have different goals, but it's cool to think that you're then all kind of doing the same thing and
Yeah.
together.
And I think, cheering each other on, and just, I think as well, you kind of, especially if you tend to train at the same sort of time, you'll see the same people. And as you get to know people, you'll know what makes them tick and what doesn't. And so that's really nice from a kind of a coach's point of view, having people in the room that sometimes, can lift someone up, or, give someone a bit of a talking to one day when they're like, stop messing about now. You just need to, you lifted that weight a month ago, I saw you do it. Now you need to be, it's just kind of working as a bit of a team, really, which is just really nice.
It's nice to feel like you're part of something, I think, as well. I find that is a nice way of getting into strength training, because it then doesn't feel as daunting. You're not alone through the process, which I think as well, if you are going into it more from a beginner stance or a bit blindly, having other people around you who are at different points in their fitness journey, but then also having that coach at the front of the group who's leading it, and giving you that guidance and also accountability, makes the process a hell of a lot smoother.
Yeah, and it helps then with that consistency, which we've talked about previously, haven't we? That, if you've got that accountability, someone's kind of checking in on you and making sure that you're kind of pushing yourself, then hopefully the consistency will come as well then, because you're seeing those improvements and you're not just going into a gym and doing the same thing every time and not kind of mixing it up or challenging yourself.
Exactly. Make it fun, make it challenging.
The rest of it just kind of follows, definitely. So I guess to kind of wrap up, takeaway points is, it's not just about bodybuilders and massive muscles, would be one of the things.
It's going to improve a hell of a lot more than just the aesthetic side of things. Move without pain, reduce your risk of injury, improve your quality of life.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And then the third one, I think, takeaway point I would say is, get a coach, get yourself kind of involved, and you commit. You're going to make that choice of, I'm going to commit to this, and you will see improvements quite quickly. Especially if you're a beginner. I think, you do get those newbie gains, and that just feels cool and empowering, I think.
Nice.
Great. Well, thank you for listening, and I am sure we will be in your ears again soon.